Okay, so remember that they're changing my voice. This is part 3. So remember, I had been in a car accident when I was 17, for those of you who've seen the My Story playlist. And so I was about 20 and maybe just turned 21. Okay, the car accident was so bad that I had back aches daily. Right? I remember my ex-girlfriend used to give me massages, but she wasn't that strong. And she used to step on my back to crack it, which, a lot of people were telling me was bad, but it seemed to relieve it a lot, right? And she wasn't that heavy, maybe about 140 pounds. And I used to crack my back in my infinity of the chair. I'd lean back on the chair and kind of arch my back and crack it. I used to do various stretches trying to get at it. And if I had exerted too much, I stopped weightlifting because of it. If I put too much pressure on it, that it, I could very well be crippled or something. My back was in very bad shape. And, but it was nowhere near as the bad shape it's in now in terms of as it recovered. So when I got blinded in 2017, which is 8 years ago, okay, and I was crippled, okay, as my back recalcified and recovered or whatever, it's in worse shape now than my back was after the car accident going 100-something miles an hour. That's how bad they messed up my back with the fumes and the poisons. They launched a military grade attack using advanced technology, if you want to call it that, on my back, and messed it up significantly more. Okay, and so that's open and shut there. Now you can see with the change in posture, my neck kind of goes forward a little bit, and it's not good anyway. So really briefly, so what had happened was, I forgot to bring up Daryl, right? He's another guy. His name's Daryl, right? They're daring. Say, I dare you to, kind of thing, right? A double dog dare, right? Also, I forgot the guy whose name's Bra. We had an incident at the mall, not a major incident, minor incident, at Victoria's Secret, where she was like, okay, I just want to go see these bras. And I'm like, well, I'm going to stand outside. So she convinced me to kind of go in with her in one of these stores. That might have been the time. And so I was very embarrassed. There's chicks shopping for their lingerie, and I'm standing there like, man, this sucks, right? And so, at the time I was spending all my money on rent and utilities and food and weed and alcohol. So I couldn't afford to buy the bra. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. There's a lot of people like, oh, you're cheap, but there's a lot of people can relate. And they tend to be more down to earth than people who are so dumb that they can't imagine why somebody whose family is sabotaged, okay, even as a brain surgeon's son, that I didn't have a lot of money on me most of the time. Most of the time, I did not have a lot of money. I spent what little money I had. My paychecks were for rent, and sometimes I was borrowing money from my parents as it was, okay? So that moment in the mall, it would have really enhanced my relationship if I bought her some fancy lingerie and stuff like that, even though our relationship was more deep, less erotic desire, fancy schmancy Jessica Rabbit, okay? But it would have enhanced the relationship in various ways. Okay. So, she had, I'm going to go ahead and say it, she had quite, large breasts for somebody her size. She was Ethiopian. She was like, she had a nice shape of her body when I first met her. She put on a little pounds, right? And she had, big breasts, big, behind, what have you. And so that's part of the game they're playing, right? The guy's name started with Bra. We're at Victoria's Secret, right? Victor, I Alpha. And I actually meet another female named Victoria at a park, also in the southern part of San Jose, but on Cottle, or by Cottle, off of Santa Teresa. Okay? And so that these words connect. They do these things time and time again because they have people hooked to a machine to such a degree. I assure you. The movie Matrix, the guy, Keanu Reeves, I believe it was, says the movie Matrix was a documentary, and there's a lot of truth to that. It has to do with brain hacking, has to do with the history of mind control operations, the factual history, no weird, conspiracy theories, but to the point, what's believable, what's military operation, military mind control, domestic operations, CIA, textbook, MKUltra's cult RAM, no other way, scramble with a K instead of a C, no other way it could be. Okay. So there was that. Now, going back to the Daryl incident, so basically I told her, I used to sell weed at the time, okay, it's not the end of the world. I made a song where I said, I'd rather, sell you some weed instead of some dope. I never sold hard drugs, basically, okay? Basically, I was around people that did a little bit of that, but basically I never really dabbled into that. But I sold marijuana to a small degree, and that put me at odds with a local guy who lived in the area, whose name was, I'll just give you his name, what the hell. His name was Tyrone. He wasn't a gang member. He had an incident where a Crip broke into his house before. I didn't think of this at the time. He basically had some disagreement with him about money or something. The guy just wanted to rob him. That's right. So he went in there. He pistol whipped him while he was asleep. Or I guess he left his door open, or he picked the lock or something. He pistol whipped him, and he woke up being pistol whipped, and he robbed him and took off. He also got in a fight with that dude. I believe it's the same dude. And Rahel was there, and everyone was saying he won, the Tyrone won. But she was like, no. The other guy basically won, right? He didn't win like a lot, right? They probably broke even. And so there was this, also Rahel did, she didn't kind of go for the guys that was with Tyrone when they tried to get at her. She dated just one guy before me, if I believe, who's from East Palo Alto, which is it's a thug city it's a thugged out city basically in California that has a strong reputation in the streets of Northern California. I don't know how else people know it, but to some degree people know it outside of that, but it's not really that famous. Kind of like, maybe not, and it's not as famous as Mac Dre would be or E40 would be outside of California, but it has a little bit of a reputation. But there's a lot of gang members there, a lot of black gang members who claim various hoods in that area. I don't know that much about it, but she dated some guy from there, before me, named JP. That was the only person that she seriously dated. She dated another dude who claimed to be a blood from Oak Park in Sacramento, probably lied about it, named Jesse, but she didn't really get that far with him, and I went on a trip with them to Sacramento to the Hoop It up there, but that's a story for another day. No serious incident it occurred, right? He kind of fronted on me. Everyone knew I'd beat his ass, and that kind of was that, right? And he ended up coming back with me. The car breaks down. My brother's in the car. He's scared to death that he's going to get jumped and so on and so forth. Kind of reassured him, told him to get rid of the alcohol because my brother wasn't with it. He got rid of that. All of a sudden, he's not trying to front on me anymore. But I'm not bragging, just kind of covering the odds and ends in here. Anyway, so going back to Daryl. So I told her, hey, if somebody, while I'm gone, wants weed, what you do is you say, I got to go get it. Give me the money. You go get the money. You go get it, right? You come back and bring it down. If they really want to press the issue, you go back upstairs. You put the weed back and you bring them back their money. Like, these people know you. They know you live there somewhere or whatever, right? You tell them that that's how it's got to be done. Okay? Now, part of it, she probably wanted to smoke with them or something. I don't know. But she fucking takes them to the apartment, right? And fucking he jacks it and takes off. Then he argues that something else went down to kind of fuck with my head or whatever. So as she's arguing with him, or as she's there with him, he starts saying things like, I'll rip this guy's head off, or something like that. He starts running his mouth on top of that. Okay? And so she's out there with, one of my friends named Solomon. He's from Ethiopia too. Okay? And, well, we weren't best friends or something, but, and he's kind of a mutual friend, if you want to call it that. And I think Tyrone was there too. There used to be a store right there. It shut down pretty quickly. It was not a liquor store, but they did sell cigar products, right, and wraps and so on and so forth. It was kind of like a general store, kind of like a 7-Eleven or something. But it wasn't 7-Eleven. So they're out there. We roll up in the car. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this one chick from this is where the story gets interesting. Don't quote me on this, and I know that she was there around that time. This one chick named Genesis who claimed, this is where it gets interesting, I did not know Deshaun Campbell. Again, I did not know Deshaun Campbell. You can look at the PSYOP history, never met the guy, probably never crossed him on the street. One of my friends claimed to know him, claimed he was locked up with him, didn't have a lot of respect for him, And, she claimed, the guy that the other dude was, we'll call him my co-defendant, he was dating her at the time. So if I'm not mistaken, it was me, Rahel, and fucking in the car. I think it was just me and Rahel in the car or something. It might have been 4 of us in the car. So we roll up, boom. I come out, I take off my shirt, I'm getting ready to squab this guy, I'm getting ready to fight with him. Okay? And then, something comes over me, right? And I realize I got in an accident. And I'm looking at this situation. I'm looking at how petty it is. For whatever reason, I decided to be the better man. And it's something that's very hard to do when you already got your shirt off and, the streets is watching, literally, like there's a bunch of dudes around, right? And they're like, okay. And fucking, I put out my hand, I'm trying to squash that. I decided to just squash it. Okay, she keeps running her mouth, my ex-girlfriend, he's running his mouth to her to some degree. And so we leave, right? We left on a bitter note. That was not a good thing. Because also, remember, I'd been in the car accident. That was not a good thing that we left on a bitter note. If she had shut up, if he had shut up, it probably would have squashed it. It probably would have been bitter. And said, what the fuck, people are not going to take me seriously because I treat it that way. So I'm in there, I'm starting to get angry about it. And I'm in there talking to my co-defendant, we're talking about different martial art techniques, Okay, we roll up there and say, okay, no, this chapter does not end this way. So we walk up there. So the plan is we're going to go in there. If Tyrone's there, we're going to shove his little ass out the way. We're going to beat the shit out of this guy. That's the plan. We go knock on Tyrone's door. Tyrone's like acting shady. Like he's like nervous. He's like, okay. Now there's more to this story than that, but there's not much more. Okay. There's nothing that like makes me look too bad or something, but I'm just going to leave it out because it's a distraction. Okay. There's some guy who's there on the second floor there who's like, okay. He's like, is everything okay, Tyrone? Whatever, right? And so when he opens the door, all of a sudden, just like, and it probably was brain hacking, I don't know. For some reason, I changed my mind, right? To some degree. So, and I see Tyrone Tyrone and I are both trying to hold back my co-defendant, who at the time, he's got some muscle on him, right? And so does Daryl. Daryl is like he boxes regularly, he works out regularly, he's a strong guy, right? He's stronger than average. He was kind of shorter, though. And so this thing, it spills out into the fucking... Okay, so Daryl basically goes out through the sliding door. I believe that's how LJ, who was a Crip, came in and pistol whipped Tyrone back in the day, right? Through that sliding door. I think that's what he said. But he goes out through the sliding door. Boom. So I think my co-defendant put it together that if we jump this guy, okay, that fucking Tyrone's gonna get involved, right? And who knows, he might have a gun or something, he might bring out a weapon. I mean, it's gonna spill out, whatever neighbors are gonna get involved, because the apartment complex was pretty big. So they lived like on the other, or Tyrone lived on the other side. He lived with his girlfriend there. And so as it's playing out, okay, I start kind of giving him, pointers in a way that's confusing. Okay, of how to hit him. So as they're exchanging blows, boom, big old arms flying in there, boom, boom, bing, bing, bap, right? And at one point, so first Daryl hits him one time, right? He lands one, right? I'm like, fuck, I'm thinking to myself, this is not going the way I wanted to. The first, he kind of got the first hit. Then at some point, they both swung, my co-defendant with a straight punch, bow, lands him. At the same time, he throws a hook punch, and they both go backwards at the same time, right? So my co-defendant, he turns his head, right, because he got hit with a hook, but he hit him with such a potent kind of straight right, pow, like sticks him, right? And so they both kind of go back, like they're falling backwards, but they don't fall down, and they kind of go forward. That's when Daryl rushes him in, right? And he kind of tackles him, this is a professional, well, maybe not professional, this guy may as well be a professional boxer. Like, he would give Mayweather a run for his money. He might even knock out Mayweather in a street fight. Like, he's pretty good at boxing, right? But he's not super good. He's not the man or something. I would have beat his ass hard if I hadn't been in the car accident, okay? Especially with martial arts applied. And before he started, he specifically said as if he knew that I'm a martial artist. And keep in mind that it turns out later that he was collaborating with the military, okay? As far as anyone can tell, because there was military personnel running this operation, and he came with 2 military guys later. Anyway, so he kind of rushes him in, right? And, my co-defendant didn't really know how to respond to that, right? And so he doesn't dip him, though. He kind of just holds him for a while, and then he drops him, right? He drops him on his feet, mind you. And so then it kind of, for whatever reason, I don't remember that part, but for whatever reason, we start walking out, they kind of stopped fighting. I think we broke it up for a second. I think they stopped for a second. We said, that's, Tyrone kind of agreed with me that, hey, enough is enough. And we kind of got in the way. And then, so Daryl is like pissed off. That straight punch really pissed him off. My co-defendant is like a little bit tired, but he's not really angry, right? But he knows that he's got to kind of keep facing him. You know what I'm saying? He can't fucking like, walk away because of the situation, right? He's still, the guy's like, so we're breaking him up. And again, Daryl had the option to keep firing on him, even though we're trying to break it up. So it was like he had his pride, and he's sore, right? He's like bitter because he got hit with a good one, right? And you know, it's hard. You know, he was acting like a demon or something. So to make a long story short, we drive away, and I'm talking shit to him as we drive away because I'm bitter too. I was trying to break it up at first because I'm on the fence about this, you know. And it might have been the brain hack. It might have been just what happens when you go through a serious situation and you think that to some degree that it's not necessary, right? Because I'd walked away the first time and then I got pissed off and went back. Then I kind of changed. I changed my mind like several times, right? You know, this wasn't like, hey, we're gonna go in there and just put in work like ruthless gangsters, because I'm not a ruthless ghetto gangster. I'm the type of guy who naturally kind of gets along with everyone. But at the same time, I know I'm the top martial artist ever by the time I'm 17, and it's not a coincidence that that's when I get in the accident. So the government has a point to prove. They're like, hey, we can't let this guy get respect because they're fucking retarded. They think that Prince William and George Bush and you know, celebrity singers and fucking football players, and they think that these guys need to be bigged up boxers, right? You know, they're clowns compared to me. No offense to anybody, but that's the fact here. And they're false idols. They think that somehow if people recognize me as Christ or the top martial artist, that's going to take away from what they're doing. Okay, so, you know, they're acting like complete bitches. It's like if you think about the European governing class, right, it makes more sense. Think about King George, King Louis. Okay, these guys are bitches, right? So they get there, no, I don't want them to, but they'll look up to him. Like, that's what's going on, literally. They're thinking about frats, think about King George and King Louis and George Washington. These guys are bitches. No offense to anybody, but it has to be said. That's the problem here. The main problem is they're fucking sniveling, jealous, punk-ass Justin Bieber-like pussies. And you all know it. They set me up to get in a fucking car accident. Proof positive. They made it so I live, I'd imagine, unless they didn't know. I don't know. But from what I gather, they had technology then to kind of determine how the accident plays out. There's lots of proof of that. Look at gang stalking. There's lots of proof of that. Okay, they have technology that can damage your car without anyone scratching it. They got technology that can put patterns out there. They can control the movements of animals. They have all kinds of technology that would have allowed them to determine how that accident came out. Okay, either way, whether they knew it or not, fuck them for that. Because I could have easily died. I was going 100 miles an hour. I was in the back middle seat, right? You know, someone else was driving. You know, 4 other people in the car. We just came back from, you know, going to Sacramento to see some motherfuckers about something. Okay? And again, I'm not ghetto. I'm not hood. Don't be a gangster, so on and so forth. Okay? We're coming back like whatever freeway. I guess that's the 280 north, 680 south. Okay? And, we're going one way. The car, they had a problem with his front left tire. Okay, I think we spun. He tried to change all the lanes at once. He says something like, if I remember correctly, that I do this all the time. Don't worry, because we're like, hey, don't drive this fast. He's like, don't worry. Boom, like no time later, he loses control of the car. Okay, and so boom, at some point, maybe it's the tires, something causes it to flip around and go up in the air. I think it went in the air first like 3 times. It was whoosh, 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 like spun like hella fast in the air. Then it landed and boom, it rolled over like 3 times. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, and then when all is said and done, we're going the other way, believe it or not. For whatever reason, like if you roll a Hot Wheel car enough, you'll see that it will end in a weird direction. You can start it with one direction, it might end up going the other direction. That's kind of the best explanation I can give to why, and I don't know why, because I was inside of it and spinning fast, why it ended up going the other direction. And we're heading straight about 30 miles an hour or so. We're heading straight for this fucking mountain. I believe the other side was a cliff or something, right? I believe the other side was a little drop, but this side, it was like the mountainside. And, we're heading toward that, and it's driving, and then pow! So everyone's like yelling, right? And the glass breaks, there's dirt, and it flies into my throat, and I have trouble breathing. Okay? Now again, this is way before any problems I have with breathing now is because of years of fuming. It's not whatever weed I smoke, whatever cigarettes as a little kid, it's fucking years and years of fuming. And them drugging the weed, they caused that. Anyway, so it hits. Right? Make a long story short, everyone lived. We were all fucked up really bad. I was fucked up really, really bad. I was probably the most fucked up because I was in the back middle, except for maybe Chris, there was all kinds of blood coming from his head. And, this is part of where I got love for Chris. For whatever reason, his dad is the one who picked us up. He picks us up in a Cadillac. He's like a blood OG or something. Maybe he's not a gang member, so don't quote me on that, but I'm going to go ahead and say he came off that way. And Chris is a blood, so he picks us up, boom. His dad gives him, for whatever reason, his dad just decided to give him money. Maybe they got paid to do it. That's probably what happened, right? That's probably what happened. because as he gives him money, he gives him like $100 or something. He gives Devon like $20, and Devon goes, "Hey, give him some." And I think he said, "Are you sure?" or something. And then he gives me $20. Okay, now keep in mind, they got paid this little money to be in that car accident. What the fuck, right? It's nowhere near enough. I don't know what that was about. Oh, no. Because when the lawyers called, they got some kind of cash settlement. I was feeling, again, they were hacking my brain or something. I felt nervous about going to court, or I don't know what it was. I felt like I didn't just want to be left alone. I was bitter, right? Something like that. It's been a while, over 20 years, like 25, 26, 27 years. I was like 17, right? So that's 26 years ago. No. That's 26 years ago. I'm 43. I'm going to be 44 this year. 26, 27 years ago. So, yeah, and so they ended up getting paid because of the insurance. But again, they got fucked up in the car accident too, right? All of us got fucked up. I got fucked up the most, and they hit my back because it was a small kind of bucket car, and I'm in the back middle, that little, and so fucking my head like hit the roof at one point and shit like that, and it fucked up my spine, right? But anyway, so that stayed with me for years and years and years and years, right? To some degree, I'm still feeling slightly the effects of that, but the major effects I'm feeling is after I was crippled back in 2017 from the fumes. Okay. So now I want to go over the martial art code. I don't want to make this video that long. And I know I sounded weird at some point. I'll just do it in part